My name is Ian Tyndale. Welcome to my talk, Success in 7 Parts. This is a talk about the subject of success. In it, I won't actually tell you how to be successful. I show you how to appreciate, evaluate and consider what success may really mean to you, not as an attribute that you may have, nor what you used to believe that it means. Many perfectly adequate people now find themselves in hard situations connected to economic constraints. By now, it's easy to be convinced that you were at fault or that you were deserving of the situation. My talk series will revise the perspective. I remind you of your capacity to manage your success. The self. The human territory. Is yourself the same as you sitting there listening to me? How much of you is yourself? Which parts of yourself are there? When people meet you, perhaps they ask your name. They might ask me, what's my name? I'd say Ian Tyndale, because that's my name. But is that me? Is that you? Are you your name? Then they might ask you what you do for a living. But is that you? Is your job you? Are you your job? Are you what you do? Then they might ask you where you come from. What's your email address? Facebook, Twitter, etc. What did you study? What do you like? What's your star sign? What are your interests? Are these you? They could apply to a lot of other people. If those aren't you, who are you then? How do you personally define the me that you are? Does it have to be defined by individuality? Uniqueness? Who do you think you are? There are surface attributes such as the way you look, the way you speak, the way you have your hair, your clothes, the way you wear your clothes, your posture, etc. There are also shared characteristics. Your family, your community, your nationality, your culture, your species. How much of our own identity is able to be inferred by others? And which others? Consider the way that we talk to our friends, our family, work groups, online. Consider how other people define us by what we wear. Do we structure what we want others to think of us by our choices in what we buy? The brands that we hope will create associations. The evident quality of what we choose. The facility and capability of what we equip ourselves for. Where is yourself? When you consider yourself or your self, where do you situate or position yourself? Is it where your body is? So yourself is where you are. Is it specifically where you stand? Or is it in your head? Or all of you? If we assume that the self is situated where the head is, then how big is the self? Is it as big as the head? Can it grow much bigger, or is it always the same size? Is it much bigger than the head? Smaller? Is it the same size? Including my hair? Including my hat? Why isn't it as big as your room, or your whole house? Or your street? Or your town? Or your district? Or your country? Is it even located in the same place as the head at all? Is yourself in a completely different country? Maybe you're really on a different planet. Can't it go on holiday somewhere else while the body stays here and does all the work? Is the attachment to a hometown or country something like expressing the size and locus, the location of the self? Does this provide you with a collection of associated beliefs and factors that pertain to our notion of identity? I originate from there, so my self is from there. This applies to other factors, not just geographic location. Is yourself your friend? Why do we frequently get nothing done, even when we have had plenty of time to get it done in? Are we engaging in passive-aggressive behaviour against ourselves? Do we really have deep unconscious desires? According to early Freud literature, the source of uncontrollable, irrational crowd behaviour. By now, shouldn't we recognise it as not uncontrollable, not irrational, and certainly not dangerous? Shouldn't we now redefine it as emotional behaviour, a different class of rational based on a game tree? Behavioural economics leans heavily on game theory. If anything, our conscious, polite, socially acceptable, controlled behaviour is the irrational one. 2. The illusion of control. The wrong reasons for success. What is the driver in superstition or ritual? Is it belief in luck, or is it fear of the opposite of luck? If someone has performed well on one occasion, they may identify certain aspects of behaviour or certain environmental aspects of the situation, such as clothing, position of external objects, etc., or even touching objects in a certain sequence. This can mistakenly be attributed to the success instead of what really made it happen. Failure to correctly identify the reason for success and mistakenly attributing the source of success to external factors, usually untested, removes your personal power to take ownership of your own outcomes. Superstition, addiction, and surrender. You are gambling that something that you have this vague feeling about is a pivotal factor in success or failure. You are also reinforcing the incorrect belief each time success does occur, in exactly the same way that a cargo cult will try but fail. Any results are disconnected from the actions. It reinforces misunderstanding the process of your success and puts your success on a level above what you personally think you are capable of. All you need is the correct pantomime or ritual to access the spirit of success once again. This cheats you of inherent direct access to success that you have within your own capability and understanding. Let go of your rituals. Surrender to who you can also be. What is luck? The parts of luck. First, what is luck? Luck is the favourable outcome of complex activity over periods of time. The complex activity is an interaction affected by other activities, people's actions, external influences, etc. The periods of time are an illusion. There really is no actual episodic stop and start, but we see them as episodes that relate to our life. The favourable outcome is our assessment of the value of a result of activity after a certain period. Can we influence luck? We form judgments on what happened in our own terms, according to what we may like or need or want to happen. If what happens out there matches what we in here would find appealing, then that's lucky. Luck is time and action and result. It has inputs and outputs. It can be viewed as a process. How do we do anything about luck? Can we influence luck? We can influence a lot of our external environment, for better or for worse. We can influence other people. They can influence their environment. Therefore, yes, we can influence the factors that are associated with luck. Our world model. We're also able to process sensory input from the real world based on our internal model of the world. Everything we know about the outside world got into our heads somehow, through our senses. Everything we know about out there is actually modelled in here. And it's that model that we interact with. Sometimes reality resembles the model, or not. If our model resembles a topic in reality well enough, we consider that we understand it. Our ability to process sensory input enables us to arrive at some very useful and beneficial strategies as our output. However, we're also able to process complex combinations of sensory input as virtual extra sensors. Our senses can affect our actions. Let's redefine luck based on what we now realise. It has several components. Our perspective view of luck is engaged by our intuiting patterns in sequences of situations, whilst inferring outcomes from this recognition. This is enhanced by our ability to process complex multimodal sensory inputs. This can assist us in situationally positioning ourselves in time and space for optimum payoff from an understood situation. We do this unconsciously a lot of the time, and we call it luck. Today's your lucky day. Unfortunately, we don't specify which sort of luck. The cognitive gym. Cognitive fitness. Get your senses fit in the mind gym. We need to develop our sensory channels and our cognitive framework. Are we permanently drugged, fit for one type of cognition? Consider refined sugar, a relatively recent introduction to the West. Before, honey or sugar beet would have been used. How addictive is sugar, and how poisonous is sugar? What do you eat that has no sugar in some form? Consider the health effects of glucose-fructose syrup, possible links to obesity, lower appetite suppression. Tea is thought to be beneficial in many ways. Tea, not just coffee, has significant caffeine content. Caffeine is the world's most widely consumed psychoactive substance. Alcohol, cigarettes, highly addictive, mood-changing. What else are we drugging ourselves with by eating and drinking and... Well, I'm not saying don't take these substances. What I am saying is, if you put these substances in your body, it will change the way that you think. The economics of paying attention. The superconscious. What is consciousness? Is it simply what we are conscious of? Is it the same as saying what we are aware of? Higher or lower levels of consciousness may simply be a process of interpreting the existing information from the existing senses in more complex and refined ways, rather than the simpler and more direct ways. Maybe the term superconscious would be useful here. Composite sensory interpretation. Is it possible that we synthesize a virtual sense from an advanced, complex interpretation of specific patterns of information from two or more of the basic senses? The economy of time. We only have 24 hours a day. We each have the same amount of time as each other. What we do within that time is roughly the same, but the minor differences can matter a lot. We each spend a large portion of that 24 hours asleep. The rest, the awake time, is divided into introspection, thinking our own thoughts, daydreaming, imagining, working things out, fantasizing, making up excuses, remembering, extrospection, attending to outside events, people, things, actions, active uptime of responding to stimuli out there. The illusion of recency. Generally speaking, the sleep time is our own time. The introspection is also our own time. However, the time that we rent out to the outside world, the extrospection uptime, that's precious. We only have a limited and definite supply of it. We must consider how much of our attention goes to different destinations or places for our consumption. Is it an illusion to think that events occur at a faster rate today than in the past? It's tempting to think of the past as a simpler, slower time, but in times of battle, the pace of information would have been hectic, many sources of information. Similarly in hunting, in sport, in combat, in travel, in sales, manufacturing, etc. He who hesitates is lost. The economy of attention. Is attention a kind of currency? Our language makes it so. Pay attention. We use the same language as when we speak of money. I can't afford to give it my attention now. I have to divide my attention. There's only a certain amount of attention that a person can give at any one time, and we all get 24 hours a day. A newspaper publisher's daughter kept rabbits. Rabbits will breed, so soon they had even more rabbits. Yet their garden provided the same amount of lettuce. As the rabbits increased, the share of lettuce decreased. The lettuce economy demonstrated a scarcity of lettuce as the quantity of demanding destinations for it increased. The literacy virus. The spread of language as a tool of trade. When did language start, and why did it succeed? The facility in humans is affected by the FOXP2 gene. Was there one original language or several? We have evolved differences between languages. This demonstrates evolutions and shifts within the languages in a manner that resembles genetic evolving. One major driver of linguistic evolution is trade. In order to trade between peoples, some understanding is required between their languages. New languages evolve at the interface of languages. Language can be associated with innovation. Language abstracts ideas from their implementation. This gives us storage and portability of concepts. The spread of the linguistic parasite. Language can cross boundaries: geographical, commercial, state, class, environmental, and other boundaries. Leakage of ideas and concepts can readily occur across language styles. The replication of ideas is typically not a 100% perfect copy, but for the most part ideas migrate effectively, so that each language has similar sets of concepts expressed in their own style. Are we in control of our language? Or is language in control of us? Did language drive us out to find trade opportunities, primarily so that language could spread like a virus? The benefit of globalized trade is merely a side effect. Who drives our words? Do we simply say the appropriate things that fit best? Words that seem the best fit to bolt onto what we hear, one after the other, as we hear other people say them. Thus we refer to this activity as a conversation. Is the intelligent discourse ours or the language's? Is our language capable of prompting our own behaviour to its own ends? Is the language making us do the things we do for the benefit of the spread and evolution of language itself? If the intelligence seems to be in the language, then was there ever any in the person? The motor. What do you do? What motivates a life form to take action in response to a threat or an opportunity in a way that a rock or a river cannot? A movement, alteration of present circumstances, or action can be associated with successful outcomes. Is the statistical likelihood of presence of this tendency what success is? What moves us? What causes us to remain still? If we have a motive, do we have a motor? What feeds that motor? What motivates us? Whatever you do all day, that is the motor's state. Are you in the correct state? We seek problems. We have a function, to seek problems. All people are essentially problem-solving organisms. We find problems, we solve problems. See what you do all day at work. You resolve problems. If there are no problems, that's okay, we'll make some. The state we're in is a machine that makes problems and then uses ourself to solve those problems. We either do not have control over the choice and creation of those problems, in which case we will still find problems to solve, or we do have control over the choice and creation of our problems, in which case we still have to solve them, but we know they're our problems to solve because we designed them. Choosing the right problems to fuel our motor. We should be seeking the opportunity to make our own problems and then solve them. If we don't, we'll be given problems that were not our own choice. This is because we put ourselves in situations where we must seek problems. Are we in control? Should we even want to be in control? If our language drives us, if our motor seeks problems and then solves them, if our attention is not our own, if our cognition is up to the chemistry we eat or drink, and we don't even know where our self is, maybe your best course of action is to surrender to what drives you. Surrender to the mechanism of you. The final word. You need to define what is your own product. What is your own product? You cannot rely on an HR department or your boss or your colleagues for your success trajectory. This is why a good many professionals with, until recently, high-performance careers might now find themselves redundant and confused and traumatized. No one else will tell you what your own product is. Find out how your motor works, what it produces. Define the product of you. My name is Ian Tyndale. That was the pilot episode of my talk series, Success in 7 Parts. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you and goodbye.